The training's rework into Awakenings has been an overall great success for the game since launch. There are currently 34 Awakenings along with 5 forward gears and 4 goalie gears in the game. This of course poses the obvious question, which of these should I be taking on the striker I am playing? With 17 different strikers, each with their own unique kit, playstyle, and with some even being capable of being great picks as both a forward and a goalie, figuring out the best Awakenings for each striker can be quite the task. Not to worry though, because we're here to help. Now before we get started, I'd like to point out that build flexibility is always important. For example, if you're playing Juno and keep getting KO'd by the enemy X or Juliette, it would be a good idea to grab an Awakening like Stagger Swagger or Unstoppable to prevent the enemy team from just running you down every round. You can grab all 5 of your best Awakenings, but what good will they do if you get KO'd on repeat? With that out of the way, let's dive in and see the top 5 Awakenings for each striker that you should be on the lookout for, along with their best position gear. Era is a very powerful striker with a shrink growth beam that can also be used as a scoring tool, an amazing move speed buff for her and her nearby allies, and her flying ball of magic ultimate. The goal here is to maximize her buffing and debuffing power, along with making her ult an even bigger nightmare for opposing forwards and goalies to deal with. For her forward gear, Magnetized Souls is the pick. It enables maximum positioning ability for incoming offensive and defensive situations. For Awakenings, Castelast is great value. 70% longer duration to your buffs and debuffs, as well as creations lasting 35% longer? This gives you just about everything you want. Monumentalist offers 100% increased creation size, and they will hit 15% harder. Her ult becomes a must-dodge ability, and this will create huge zoning opportunities of enemy forwards and goalies. Chrono Boost gives 75% increased haste on her secondary, and it also increases her buff and debuff durations by 35%. Aerials gives the same 75% increased haste as Chrono Boost, but gives your projectiles 25% increased travel or cast range instead. A great boost for her ult. Primetime gives another charge on her primary, and it'll hit 15% harder. Hitting harder isn't exactly what makes this stronger though. It's the 2 casts on her primary that gives her many more scoring options. Special mention to Extra Special. After the recent nerf to Era's ult cooldown, coupled with the slight buff to Extra Special, it makes her ult a 12-second cooldown instead of a 20-second cooldown. Not to mention it's always up at the start of the round. Asher is a bulky striker with an innately large character model. She has great defensive capabilities that can be used offensively in the right situations. The aim is to make her even bigger and bulkier while enabling her to make more offensive plays. For forward gear, take Slick Kicks for more follow-up positioning on your own strikes, or Vicious Van Braces if you feel like you will need more survivability. For goalie gear, take Powerhouse Pauldrons for the increased size, power, and damage reduction. Her 5 best Awakenings apply to her as both a forward and a goalie. Primetime is probably the best Awakening for her. It gives her another charge on her primary and hits 15% harder. Built different because you want to be bigger if you're in goal, but this also gives you harder hitting impact abilities. Impact abilities are moves that hit multiple targets, and all of her abilities do just that. Big Fish is the same as Built Different, but instead of hitting harder, you gain 300 max stagger. Stagger Swagger because it gives you move speed, and a lack of move speed is one of Asher's weaknesses. If you drop below 50% stagger, it changes from a 2% move speed buff to a 40% move speed buff, and you heal 100 stagger per second. Stacks on Stacks is just too good on tankier strikers. It's a scaling move speed buff. Each hit will grant you 6 stacks of 0.15% speed per stack, and at 100 stacks, you get double the speed, so 30% increased move speed at max stacks. The stacks reset if you get KO'd and between each set, so don't forget to stack it up again. Asher is typically pretty tough to KO, especially after her mini rework, so this is great on her. Juliette is both the resident goal-scoring wonder and patrolling guard of the edges of the field. We want to buff up her kicking and punching power to make KOs and goals easier to come by. For forward gear, take Magnetized Souls. She can just run back and forth across the middle of the field and keep the move speed boost. This makes her amazing at following up on a breakaway after a good pass, and she's able to more easily capitalize on punishing opposing strikers for getting too close to the edge of the field. For Awakenings, take 1-2 Punch. It makes her dash punch combo even more deadly, as well as having great synergy with her ult's multiple strikes. Perfect Form offers her the power to have all of her cooldowns up more often by getting tons of hits, and unlocks the potential for a unique combo chain of punch, ult, dash, punch. All around, just incredible. Heavy Impact, since all of Juliette's abilities are area of effect. This means she makes excellent use of the increased impact and cooldown reduction when hitting multiple targets, allowing her to potentially score multi-KOs and make the most out of her created man advantage situations. Big Fish, Built different. They tend to go hand in hand. The increased stagger on big fish is always nice, but the main reason is for increased size that makes her hitbox bigger, which means easier KOs and scoring opportunities. Built different accomplishes the same thing, except instead of stagger, you gain harder hitting impact abilities. Tempo swing. Survivability from the heals plus extra damage is super valuable on Juliette. Also has great synergy with stagger awakenings. Special mention to Unstoppable. Yes, it is just a very good overall survivability awakening on most strikers, but Juliette specifically does not want anyone on the enemy team to grab Unstoppable. It makes KOing that opponent without a depleted stagger bar almost impossible. This basically takes her edge of field dash punch kill combo off the table in many instances. Dubu, the tofu hamster himself, is great at using his huge body to stop opposing scoring opportunities dead in their tracks. We want to make that huge body of his bigger and faster. For goalie gear, take Powerhouse Pauldrons for the increased size and damage reduction. For awakenings, take Stacks on Stacks. The increased speed is super strong as he will be able to save more shots on his goal without needing abilities to do so. Dubu's will also likely not be dying much at all, so losing the stacks won't be much of a worry. Built different, Big Fish. Dubu already has a huge strike radius. Make it even bigger while also just being a bigger body in your own goal in general. The added impact increase on Built Different is a nice bonus. Big Fish, same concept as Built Different, but of course with more stagger instead of impact. Twin Drive. Do a barrel roll. Okay, now do it again. This allows Dubu to make even more big saves with his dash. Glass Cannon. Similar concept to Stacks on Stacks. More speed and more power. Just don't get hit, forehead. Seriously though, very good on Dubu. Quick Strike. A hilariously great choice on Dubu because of his massive hitbox. It makes getting the core through him super difficult for the enemy team. Estelle, the glamorous scoring goddess, has all of the flashy tools she needs to either go through or around opposing defenders. We want to increase the availability of these abilities and their range. For forward gear, take Magnetized Souls, so she can capitalize on breakaways with all of her goal scoring tools. For goalie gear, take Strike Shot, for the increased range on her ult and the extra projectile, because she clearly doesn't already fire enough of them. For awakenings for both forward and goalie, take Aerials. Increasing her cast range on her blink allows her to have even more map control, and the increased cast range on her ult is fantastic for those goals from downtown. An all-purpose awakening for Estelle. Rapid Fire makes her most common scoring tool in her primary up more often. Very simple, very valuable. Missile Propulsion. Huge travel range increase on her ult allows her to really get those 360 no-scope goals from across the map. Perfect Form. A very strong boost to her ability uptimes that turn her into an even more frequent goal-scoring threat. Prime Time. 2 charges on her primary allows her to pressure defenders much harder with her potential to double hit the core. Special mention for Twin Drive as goalie for more blink saves in a pinch. Ai.Mi has a very unique kit that is very versatile with lots of offensive and defensive options. Ideally, you should aim to augment all of her abilities at least once, her ult being her most valuable ability by far. For forward gear, take Magnetized Souls. Again, to capitalize on scoring opportunities, whether that be with or without your abilities. For goalie gear, take Strike Shot. It's super strong on Ai.Mi as it increases the range of both her primary and ult. You can take Eject button for a more in-your-face style of play if you'd like. Her awakenings for both forward and goalie include Timeless Creator, makes her ult bigger and last longer. Super important as this makes her ult an even bigger obstacle for the enemy team to deal with on your team's scoring opportunities. It can of course also be used offensively to make scoring on you an even bigger pain. Aerials. Longer blink range for more surprise goals and KOs from across the map, as well as more range on her primary and ult. Prime Time. Another charge of her primary to make her an even bigger scoring and defensive menace. Twin Drive. A second charge of her ult so she can be just about everywhere at all times to score or make saves. Extra Special. Ai.Mi is simply a much bigger scoring threat and wall with her ult up, and this allows you to get it back up for the next round if you just scored with it, or if you just got scored on. We don't judge. Kai, the quintessential goalie of the game, is already such a stout defender with all of his projectiles and move speed. Making both of those stronger is the key. For goalie gear, take Momentum Boots. The move speed boost is too good on him. For awakenings, take Prime Time. 2 charges of his 5-shot barrage gives Kai so many ways that he can deny enemy forwards. Stacks on stacks. You should really not be dying on Kai, so this gives him a very nice passive move speed boost at max stacks. Missile propulsion. Longer range on his primary and ult, with harder hits that allows you to assist a bit more on the offensive end and keep the core on the enemy side of the field. Aerials. Move speed boost increase as well as increased range on his primary and ult makes aerials an all-purpose awakening. Chrono boost. Longer duration on his secondary along with an increase of the move speed buff makes this a very valuable awakening. Zentaro is a very in-your-face fighter that typically wants to brawl a bit more than he wants to be a flashy goal scorer. So let's look to make his abilities pack more punch. For forward gear, take Vicious Vambrace. Zentaro needs the survivability as he is a very brawly striker with no real projectiles. For awakenings, take Super Surge. Increases the range of his secondary, his passive 10-stack strike dash, and makes both hit harder. Excellent value. Tempo Swing. More heals for survivability plus extra damage is a no-brainer for his brawly playstyle. 1-2 Punch. He has great multi-hit potential on his primary and ult. His potential to multi-hit with multiple abilities is also very high. It increases his KO power substantially. Twin Drive gives Zentaro a very nice increase in mobility and playmaking potential with 2 secondary charges. Built different. More incredible value in the form of increasing his survivability and damage as all of his abilities are AoE to make great use of the bonus impact punch this provides. Juno, the Blobbo Queen, wants to litter the map with Blobbos as much as she can for maximum map control and goal scoring opportunities. We want her and her Blobbos to be stronger and more available at all times. For forward gear, take either Magnetized Souls or Siphoning Wand. Magnetized Souls if you want to be more centered around goal scoring, and Siphoning Wand if you want to dish out extra damage. For awakenings, take Quick Strike. It makes her even harder to deal with as she will have more strike opportunities when pressuring hard for a goal. Timeless Creator. All of her Blobbos are bigger and last much longer on the field, a must-have for basically every situation. Aerials. It makes her jump gain incredible range, allowing for her to reposition in almost any situation. Prime Time. An extra primary charge to give her even more outplay potential with her thrown Blobbos. Monumentalist. Similar to Timeless Creator. Much bigger Blobbos, except now they hit harder. Rasmus. He wants to hook enemies, and he wants to hook them hard. Maybe some core hits are in there somewhere. For real though, he wants to increase his KO power while also increasing his goal scoring potential. For forward gear, take Magnetized Souls for, of course, more positioning capabilities on scoring situations. For awakenings, take Specialized Training. It is the single best awakening you can get on Rasmus. 50% harder hitting special and will heal 50% more. This increases the knockback, or pullback, on Rasmus's Death Touch to a comical amount. It's especially troll on Ai.Mi's app. Built different for the increased size and harder hitting impact abilities, which includes both his primary and secondary. Prime Time. Pretty self-explanatory. More primary uptime for more ability to pressure for goals. Chrono Boost for a stronger and longer lasting haste effect on his secondary. Perfect form because Rasmus gets a lot of hits on the core and enemies, a great value to lower his cooldowns. Honorable mention to Twin Drive, another secondary charge and 20% reduced cooldown on his secondary overall, allows him for a potential double reposition that can come in clutch. Drek'ar, the Lizard Man is shown to be quite the capable goalie while still not being a slouch at forward, increasing his mobility while also capitalizing on his ability to assassinate targets and score cheeky goals is the main objective here. For forward gear, take Magnetized Souls for the best positioning on breakaways. It synergizes well with his secondary. For goalie gear, take Strike Shot for the increased range on his primary and ult. For awakenings for both goalie and forward, take Chrono Boost. Increases the stealth and move speed buff duration and power to make him faster for a longer period of time with the added bonus of increasing the debuff duration on his ult. Hotshot lowers his primary cooldown on each hit so that it recharges even faster. Prime Time grants a third charge to his primary. With some cooldown reduction, his primary will essentially always be up. Might be his best awakening. Twin Drive, a second charge of his stealth move speed boost with a lowered cooldown, gives Drek'ar some amazing map control and goal scoring pressure. 1-2 Punch, very powerful tool that gives Drek'ar a great boost in killing power with or without his ult. It's worth mentioning Rapid Fire. It's a good alternative to Hotshot, but Hotshot gives you harder core hits, and as long as you're hitting one bullet in your primary, then Hotshot gives you a bit more value. Luna, The Rocket Girl wants to play the range game and look for big brain scores and KOs with her secondary. We want to power up her projectiles while also increasing her mobility a bit when she is a goalie. For forward gear, take either Pummelers or Siphoning Wand. If you want pure knockback power, then go Pummelers. If you want some survivability, but still want a damage boost, choose Siphoning Wand. For goalie gear, take Eject Button. It's basically mandatory, otherwise you can never use your secondary offensively, or you risk leaving your goal open for a very easy goal for the enemy team. For Awakenings, the following 3 are best for Luna as a forward and goalie. Specialized Training. Luna ult already hits super hard, so logically you make it hit even harder for easier KOs. Prime Time. Extra missile charges are super helpful for more goal scoring, KOs, and saves. Deadeye. Harder hitting missiles at range, and her ult also benefits from this since it is considered a projectile. Luna prefers the following 2 Awakenings as a goalie. Glass Cannon. She gets increased power for all of her abilities and some much needed move speed. Twin Drive. She needs this to make more clutch saves with her dash since she is slow and has such a tiny hitbox. It can also be used more liberally for scoring chances. And the following 2 Awakenings are preferred by Luna as a forward. Extra Special, so you can always pressure immediately with your ult at the start of each round, plus a much shorter cooldown increases her KO power immensely. Rapid Fire, lower cooldown on her missiles is always great value for more KOs and goal scoring potential. Rune wants his anomalies to be bigger, last longer, and be available more often. A surprisingly simple approach for one of the most complex strikers in the game. For forward gear, take Slick Kicks. It works very well with his secondary and allows him to have greater core control. For goalie gear, take Momentum Boots for the increased move speed since Rune does not have a move speed boost of any kind. Eject Button can be used if you want to literally blink everywhere. For Awakenings for both forward and goalie, take Timeless Creator. Anomalies last longer and are even bigger. Absolutely a must-have. Hotshot. Very strong on Rune as all you need is for the core to hit an anomaly one time to lower the cooldown of its respective ability by 30%. Provides a lot more primary ability uptime. Prime Time. An extra primary allows for even more anomalies to be placed for more map control. Cast to Last. Longer duration on his ult for a longer banish time, more damage, and his anomalies will last longer. Twin Drive. Allows for some pretty crazy mobility that provides offensive and defensive flexibility. X wants to punch the enemy team. The goal is simple. Ensure the enemy team is getting punched. For forward gear, take Vicious Vambrace. It gives him sustain from his punches. He will need this so he can stay alive longer and punch the enemy even more. For Awakenings, take Perfect Form. Allows him to punch more when he punches. Chrono Boost. Increases his dash range and makes his ult last longer so he can punch the enemy for longer. Tempo Swing. Allows his punches to heal him and deal even more damage. Quick Strike. It lowers the cooldown of his strike, which is also his punch when he ults, so more punches during his ult. Built different, Big Fish. Odyssey just nerfed his strike radius, so increase this so you can punch in a wider radius. Like we've mentioned a few times already, Big Fish is a more defensive option, while Built Different is a bit more offensive. Special mention again to Unstoppable. Same as Juliette, you do not want anyone on the enemy team to get unstoppable. It makes your punches on them weaker and less effective. Snipe Unstoppable away if you can. It also helps make you harder to disengage, so you can, continue to punch the enemy team. Atlas is quite the wall that is very tough to go through. We want to focus on strengthening this ability while covering up his lack of mobility with the right Awakenings. For goalie gear, take Momentum Boots. He needs all the speed he can get. You can also take Strike Shot if you'd like. For Awakenings, take Stacks on Stacks. Just like his goalie gear, Atlas needs all the move speed he can get since he does not have a mobility ability. Timeless Creator. Larger and longer lasting primary and secondary to help with saving and keeping offensive pressure, as well as increasing the size and duration of his ult to either heal allies or keep them safe for longer. Insane value for Atlas. Twin Drive. Having 2 secondary charges really helps make Atlas into a wall you simply cannot ever go through. Perfect Form. Constant reduction of his cooldowns is huge as they are definitely not short and he needs his cooldowns to be up as often as possible. Glass Cannon. The power is whatever, but like we stated earlier, Atlas needs all the speed he can get, and this gives him quite a lot if you play around it. Vyce wants to rock out and knock out. Her immense KO power cannot be denied and must be powered up so she can become a true terror. For forward gear, take Siphoning Wand. She is going to be in the fray quite often, so the extra healing is nice coupled with all of her AoE abilities making great use of the extra stagger damage over time. For Awakenings, take Specialized Training. Her ult has incredible power and this makes it even deadlier. Extra Special. Vyce has the longest ult cooldown in the game. This makes her very powerful ult always up to start each round to ensure maximum pressure from the get-go, along with bringing its cooldown from 45 seconds down to 27 seconds. Heavy Impact. All three of her abilities are AoE, and this makes her one of the absolute best users of Heavy Impact. Perfect Form. Her cooldowns are fairly long, and this helps make them available more often. Twin Drive. This allows Vyce to zip around the map more often for more big play goals and even more consistent KOs. Worth noting to keep an eye out for Adrenaline Rush if you are scoring a good amount of KOs. Her blinking ability coupled with the Adrenaline Rush move speed boost can be very strong. Last we have Octavia. She has an essentially infinite speed boost in her secondary if you utilize it properly, and it is the centerpiece of her entire kit. Buffing up any and all move speed on her is going to yield effective and hilarious results. For forward gear, take Slick Kicks. It gives her even more insane mobility that allows her to really dribble the core consistently when using her secondary so it can stack. For Awakenings, take Chrono Boost. Stronger haste in her secondary and a longer duration. This is without question her #1 awakening. Quick Strike. It makes it easier for her to dribble to herself and stack her secondary even faster when she can. She becomes even more terrifying for the enemy to strike the core to her. Stacks on Stacks. Even more speed for her to fly around the map with, and her dribbling ability alone can stack this pretty quickly. Aerials. Stronger speed boost from her secondary and longer range in her primary is nice for goal scoring. Cast to Last. Sounding like a broken record here, but you really want her speed boost to be as strong as possible and last as long as possible. This helps her a lot with the latter. Special mention that Stagger Swagger is a surprisingly hilarious defensive option for her that makes you faster the lower your stagger meter is, while of course giving you the quick heal effect. That wraps up this awakening guide. Hopefully you gained some knowledge and understanding on not only what the best awakenings are for each striker, but why the awakenings in question are so powerful on a particular striker. As stated earlier, we can't stress build flexibility enough. Make sure you are able to adapt to your current situation with your awakening selections at all times and it will absolutely pay off. For a summary of this guide, check out our website osn.gg where we will be making regular updates. There will be a link in the description below. Anyways, that's going to do it for this video. Did you learn something new? Do you think we overlooked an awakening on a particular striker? Let us know down in the comments below. If you like this video, check out our other video explaining positioning. Subscribe if you want to see more Omega Strikers content like this, and we'll see you in the next video.